award or name, so please join me in welcoming to the podium for the presentation to our next awardee, Mr. John Cale, Sr., and his son, Jack Cale. All right?
Dad, I'll call you up in a minute, okay? My dad has hearing aids, and he told me tonight he wants me to present the award because he can't hear real well tonight. So we'll get you up here for pictures later. I'm going to add something to the program since I saw my good friend Mal saying what he said, and I'm going to talk about Mal and Sam a little bit. But and I'll get to entrepreneurship, and I'll certainly finish with you, Humberto. You're worried. I like to read. I guess anybody, any entrepreneur that's curious wants to learn and read as much as he can. So the best definition of leadership that I've ever seen, I want to read to you tonight, and I want to apply it to some of the things we've just already heard. Captain Michael McCain, head of leadership training, the U.S. Army, the Pentagon, 24 years taught leadership to the U.S. Army. His definition of leadership, take it and see if it matches yours. A leader has all the qualities of a child: an insatiable curiosity for learning, a boundless energy to put the learning into practice, and an ability to adapt to new behaviors very quickly. Isn't that simple? Children do it every day, and sometimes we lose our ability to do that because we think we're too fancy or too smart, or we can't show others that we have that enthusiasm or willingness to abandon the old and go to the new in an instant. And over the years, I met Jim Collins, the guy that wrote the book, Good to Great. And after he was done with that book, he came to Manco once. We wanted to meet him. We read his book. We talked about it, and then we all wanted to invite him. So he came to Manco, and he spent a day with us. And he told me he hired 25 graduate students, which has helped him write the book. And then he brought those guys back together to ask them, what are the traits of leadership that leaders have? And so they all went to work for several months looking for the traits of a leader, and they found there were only two. One trait is true humility, which you've seen exhibited here tonight already by Sam and by Mal. And the second is a ferocious will to win, and that's it. Now you think about it in terms of our religion, Jesus Christ is the best example because he died to save our soul. And the American soldier died to save our freedom. Those are the true heroes of life. By the way, Mal was a captain in the Marine Corps and served in Vietnam. He's too humble to tell you, but he risked his life for all of us too. So among his many other entrepreneurial risk-taking things, he did that. And Barbara, when I was watching, Sherry poked me, my wife, and she said, can you see Barbara? And as Sam was up here talking, I looked, and the look of total admiration, you missed it, Mal, was in your wife's eyes listening to someone else describe her husband. So good on you, and good on you, Barbara. So one night I met Mal out at he was kind enough, and Barbara, to share their decorator that he was pretty proud of. They had redecorated their house. So we went out and we met a crazy lady named Susan Barker. And Susan Barker ended up being the decorator on our house. Unbelievable, funny lady that she said, there's only two people I've ever really worked for that I've enjoyed, you and Mal. But we drove her both crazy because we would tell her what we were going to do. We would buy the stuff we wanted. I wanted a leather chair that had a rocker recliner. She said, I won't have my name on a house that's got one of these. And I said, lady, have a nice life because this is already bought. It's on the way. And I knew damn well she'd find a way to like that thing because she wasn't going to give up that kind of commission. But the entrepreneurial spirit that wanted to do it our way to make it comfortable for our friends, not fancy for the magazines, is what she ended up liking the two of us for. And I was at her house one night. You've heard about Mixon Hall. Mixon Hall is the high end of music. There's another part of Mal. You get about 2 scotches in him, he'll sit down at any piano and he can do the meanest Willie Nelson you ever heard. He can play it and he can sing it. So Mal, congratulations and thanks for sharing with us tonight, your life. It's pretty awesome. 10,000, I didn't do as well with the 10 as you did, but I did okay. So now we're going to get to There are other kinds of heroes too. Jesus Christ is a hero for all of us to emulate and follow, and we try to do the best we can. And soldiers are the people that really, truly lay their lives on the line. But Napoleon had a saying that morale is to material as 3 is to 1, meaning that morale of the troops is so powerful that if you can keep that morale high, you can make ordinary people extraordinary. There's a guy sitting right over here. His name is Bernie Kosar, number 19, who took ordinary players around him and made them extraordinary. So how about Bernie Kosar? I don't see you often, but when I do, you always show up at good events. You're always there loyal to your friends. You were there at the opening of the clinic down in Naples. You're here tonight for your friend. He flew in tonight from Miami. It doesn't surprise me because he's got the kind of leadership that has people want to follow him. So you are great. And I asked Umberto, are you going to bring the Italian army, I called it. Well, he didn't bring the whole army, but he brought a lot of them here tonight, so I'm going to be on my best behavior. But my good friends, Vic DiGeronimo and the Orlando Baking guys and Angelo Petiti are all here tonight, so thank you to come in support of a great guy, your buddy Umberto. Now, why is this called the Jack Cale Senior Award? I want to explain it tonight, because even Larry said it was the Jack Cale Jr. That's me. No, I named this after my father, and I'm going to take 2 minutes to tell you why. I'm 5 years old. I'm on 103rd Street in Cleveland, Ohio. He takes me and my brother, 3.5 years old, out in the garage in a rented house when he's about 120 pounds. That's what he weighed in those days. And he's rolling 55-gallon drums of oil down in the garage that we had rented. Ajax Oil was born. The first entrepreneurial thing I ever remember when I'm 5 years old is my father saying, come on, boys, you can help me roll these barrels. He would get those barrels down. He would take and open the 55-gallon barrel, put it into 1-gallon cans or 1-quart cans, and go up and down Lorraine Street and Madison Avenue selling gas stations. And little kids see examples of that and say, I knew he had a full-time job, but I saw him doing extra things. And then the next thing we did after the oil business went busto, Ajax, because he wanted to be in the yellow pages up near the top, then he sold roofs and gutters. And Jimmy used to look, we'd go down the street, my brother Jimmy would look on the left-hand side for bad roofs and gutters, we'd look on the right, we'd yell out the address, my dad would write it down, and the next day he'd go make a call and try to sell a roof and a gutter. Then he went to work for American Greetings, for Irving Stone, who is basically the founder and Sam's good friend, the man that really, J.S. Saperstein, his father, founded it, but Irving pretty much built that company. And my dad was his executive secretary, but couldn't make enough money to feed 6 kids and educate us, so he took a job working part-time in the realty business. And then eventually he asked Irving for a raise. He didn't get it. It's probably the worst mistake Irving ever made. And my dad ended up going into business, selling full-time with 6 children. I remember my mother crying in the kitchen, don't do it, Jack. Okay? We were in the projects down on West 25th Street, and he said, Mark, I've got to educate these kids. I can't do it here. I've got to take a risk. So I heard that, and believe me, as the oldest son, I watched my father work 7-day weeks, and later became Stony Brook Realty and Building with a fellow partner named Joe Moskowitz. And the guy who I first heard his name at that point was Sam Miller, because who did they buy their lumber from, and who did they buy their appliances from, and who gave my dad, and I hear at the kitchen table, would give him an extra 30 days to try to build a house and worked with him as a partner? Your friend there, Sam Miller, another entrepreneur. So many years later, I got to know Sam on the clinic board and grow to love him, because he does sit right to the left of Mal, but when he speaks, you're going to hear him, because he's going to make sure you hear him, and he makes a lot of sense on that clinic board, so never stop it, Sam. You're unbelievable. Today, my father is the father of 6 children, 25 grandchildren. I asked him tonight where it's a count on great-grandchildren. It's 55 and 2 in the oven. He said it's a moving number, Jack. Okay? Now I want to tell you, we almost lost him 2 months ago, so I'm going to celebrate this. My sister Cleta is here tonight. Cleta and my other 2 sisters and their daughters, who are nurses, came to the front My dad